Hi guys, it's Jaden, and today we're going to talk about chapters 9 to 16 in Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. So, this is about a kid who, she can't really talk, so let's start at chapter 9. Let's dive right in. So, when you began to read about how, Melody's mom, she was sort of changing, did you suspect what was happening, or were you totally when you realized that she was pregnant? So the reason I wasn't that surprised was just before I read this book, I read another book where almost exactly the same thing had happened. Well, not exactly, but almost exactly. So I was like, pregnancy, and I was right. But yeah, it was still a pretty big shock. It's a little, still. And were you a little scared that the new baby would look like Melody, or do you think that or did you think that babies who look like Melody, that wouldn't really be any problem because Melody was a good person? And if you had been, you don't have to be Melody, just any random person. Okay, you can be just yourself. And if you were going to get a baby brother or sister, how would you feel about that? Would you be excited, or would you be like, oh man, I have to share the house with this kid? Or would you just be not that really excited, but not that really, not excited, but not oh man, just cool about it, not really caring about it. And also, would you want a baby brother or a baby sister? And this all depends because, it all depends. Yeah, would you like a baby sister or a baby brother? Or do you like both? Okay. And also, so one Saturday afternoon, Melody had been sleeping on the sofa, right? Sleeping, and then suddenly she woke up, right? And mom and dad were talking about everything, right? Or about the pregnancy and how mom was so scared that she would get a baby like Melody. How do you think that Melody felt when she heard all this? Do you think that she felt bad that she was how she was, or do you think that she just felt pretty mad that people didn't like how she looked, and so that mom was worrying about it? And do you think that it was Melody's mother's fault that Melody couldn't speak and couldn't really move like this? Anyway, yeah, okay, so I think that she has gotten cerebral palsy. I think that's it, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that is it, because I've read another book about the same thing, and it's basically the same thing, exactly. And okay, now I wanted to ask you about Penny. First of all, do you think that Penny was a very good name? Okay, in my opinion, I think that Penny, it just always reminds me of the pennies, and I mean penny is good enough, but that's a 1 cent. I would have named it quarter. Then again, that would be a little too strange. I'll just name it, not penny though, it's only my opinion though, but not penny. Okay, so do you think that if you had to choose between Melody and Penny, which one would you choose? And of course, you might like babies more than like grown kids. So if let's say that they were both the same age, and I don't care what same age they were, just I think, I don't know. I really have to think about that. Do you think that if you had been Melody and you saw everything that Penny was doing, right? Then how would you sort of feel? Because a baby could do better than you, right? And everybody's like following the baby, not ignoring you. If you've ever had that feeling, then yeah, I've had the feeling. I have no siblings, but at other times when we meet as a family, always the little kids are given the food first. The little kids have all the priorities. Older kids, they're supposed to be like, well, it doesn't happen a lot, but at times. Okay, and anyway, so I wanted to ask you about Penny and Penny. With Penny in the house, right? And there's also Melody and everything, right? Do you think that is a little too busy in the house because like everybody's hurrying and hurrying? Do you think that do you like the regular morning for Melody? Do you think that is stressful, or do you think that your house is the same too and it isn't that stressful? It's just normal life. Okay. And then okay, chapter 10. And so what do you think that Doodle is? Do you think it's like a brown stuffed squirrel or a monkey? Or do you think it's just a doodle, something that is not an animal? Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask you about about when they go into the bathroom, right? Because the bathroom, everybody's all crowded in, right? Do you think it's a little too yucky for you, or have you already seen the terrors of the public restroom, which is pretty terrible? That's why I avoid public restrooms as much as I can. And don't get me started on porta johns, the porta potties. I'm getting nauseous already. One time I was forced to go in there, and I pretty much got traumatized after that. So, But anyway, you know how like Melody and her mother, they can just talk without words. Can you ever, have you ever spoke to your parents, or maybe your parents look at each other, or do you just speak with somebody in your life without words? Me, not so much. I love talking. Like, talking is my #1 favorite thing to do. So I'm right now talking right now. Talk, right? I just hate when I'm not talking. So no, not for me. I always talk, even though if I know what she wants me to do, like my mom or maybe my friend, I just, talk. Because talking is just awesome for me. And so, I also wanted to ask you about, what I wanted to ask you about was the board, right? The board, the finger, like the communication board. And so, what I wanted to talk about that was the communication board. It must be frustrating to just have those words, right? And so if you had been one of the people in Melody's life, then what words would you have added to Melody's communication board? Okay, here are some words. Okay, I'm gonna make a list. You can make a list as long as you want, but I want you to have at least about 5 words, okay? But 10 words is pretty good. 20, awesome. 100, amazing. 1,000, outstanding. And then 1,000,000, that would be beyond expectations. So my expectations are very high. Just kidding, okay? If you make 10, awesome. And that's beyond my expectations. Okay, so number 1 is Burger King. I love Burger Kings. Number 2, McDonald's. Number 3, hamburger. Number 4, hot dog. Number 5, soda. Number 6, Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Number 7, Avengers. Number 8, Marvel. I love Marvel and Avengers. Number 9, Lego. Number 10, Number 10 should be guppy as a fish. I'm obsessed in guppies. Oh yeah, and I got a number 11, betas. Beta fish or Siamese fighting fish. I love them. I have one right there. His name is Lucky. His full name is Lucky Blue Dragon. No, that's a very long name. So Lucky is his first name. Middle name is Blue, and last name is Dragon. Yeah, pretty creative of me. Okay, and so if you had a communication board, and how would you feel if you had to only limit your words to the communication board? Do you think that you would be able to really talk to anybody like that if with a communication board? And so I also wanted to ask you about everything about the McDonald's, right? Did you actually think that they were gonna get to McDonald's or not? And also another thing I wanted to ask you about was about getting what you wanted, right? So let's say it was Christmas, or what about your birthday, okay? So at my house, birthday presents aren't like a surprise. Christmas presents are surprises, but birthday presents not so much. At times, birthday presents are surprises, but at other times, I actually choose my birthday present, or I choose my birthday present, or my mom just tells me, my parents tell me, and I'm like, awesome, because even if it's not a surprise, the presents are awesome. Anyway, I shouldn't be talking about my birthday. It's still 7 months ahead. But anyway, what I'm saying is, if you can't even get what you wanted, and people don't even know what you want because you couldn't even really talk, right? Then how would you feel? And do you think that would result to very lame presents? Or do you think that because people felt sorry for you, you will get the best presents? I think it would be half-half, 50-50. Okay, so now I also wanted to ask you about the new chairs, right? The new chair, the electrical chair, right? Do you think that chair is an awesome chair, or do you think that when the chair, do you think that's an awesome chair, or do you think you got better things like a bike? But still, to Melody, how do you think how good do you think it felt when she saw that? And I want you to use a simile for this. And I'm pretty sure that if you've had my other class, you probably know this. But basically, you do it like this. So let's say that you were Melody. Then I could be like, I felt as happy as a turtle eating a jellyfish. Okay, that was pretty bad, but turtles do eat jellyfish. I think they were leatherback turtles. Okay, if I wanted to, I could get into a whole speech about turtles. But I know that if I get into a whole speech about turtles, that'll be a little of a waste of time, right? But you get my point, right? So you could be like, I felt as happy as when I see the sunset or sunrise. Okay, something like that. And also, I also wanted to ask you about How would you describe Mrs. Shannon? And do you think that Mrs. Shannon is a good teacher or a bad teacher? And would you like Mrs. Shannon or not? Okay, so I also wanted to ask you about what I wanted to ask you about was Molly and Claire. If you were Melody, then how would you react to Molly and Claire? Would you have ignored them, or would you have been like, stop it? Okay, fine. So Melody can't say stop it, but she could tell the teacher and then show Molly and Claire, stop it or else. Yeah, I think or else would be pretty good. Okay. And also, I also wanted to ask you about what I wanted to ask you about was the music class, right? And what I wanted to talk about the music class was, do you think that this class, right, is music your favorite thing to do? One of my favorite things to do. My favorite things to do, top 3, they're reading, writing, and then violin. But okay, top 4. I also like traveling and swimming, snorkeling. And I also like taking care of pets. But I also like biking. And I also like fishing. And I also like hiking. So I like a lot of things. But my point is, I like music. And do you ever see colors when you hear music or not? And what's your favorite type of music anyway? Mine's classical, especially Beethoven symphony. I'm like da 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 da. I really recommend you hearing that. So mine is classical. What's yours? Okay, and also, do you think that it's weird that Melody sees colors when she hears music, or do you think that it's just perfectly normal and that people do that all the time? And do you think that music is powerful? And if you had to describe music in one sentence, how would you describe it? I would describe it as this. Music is the most beautiful language, a universal language that people know from the time that they open their eyes, when they are born, to the time they die. So it's a universal language, right? Just hearing that, if it's sad, if it's, happy. It's a universal language. For example, I really prefer Italian classical music. Well, no, but Italian classical music, I just listened to it yesterday, so yeah. But anyway, Italian classical music is really interesting, and I really like it. And I know when it's so happy and when it's a little sad. Like that. Same for Beethoven symphonies, even though those are so exciting that I don't really listen to the moves, I just listen to it. Okay, so now I wanted to ask you about how Myra, right? Maria, sorry. Claire, right? She kissed Claire on the cheek, right? Did you think that was funny? And how do you think that Claire felt about this? And also, how would you describe Rose? And when I just asked you to describe, what about 5 traits that Rose has? And do you think that Rose is going to be a good friend or not? Okay, and now, what about Ashley? Everybody's rushing to be Ashley, right? And did you think that was, just pointed that out. And in your class, does everybody want to be partners with just one kid and not you? Have you ever had that? Well, not me. The thing is, a little annoying thing is, at one time, two kids joined me. Two kids had to join me. I liked one kid very good, and I actually requested him. But there was some other, at times there's other kids, they're still awesome. But at times, they make it hard to work, you know? So it's a little annoying, but not that much. And, okay, now, chapter 12, okay? So, what do you think about the inclusion program? Do you think that this inclusion program is a good program because it boosts self-esteem? Or do you think it's just a lame, not that very good program? I think it's a great program. And I also wanted to ask you about how now that they had gym classes, science, right? And so, if you had been Melody, and I know that there isn't you couldn't go to all the classes, but if you had to choose, then what subject would you do? And since I am in elementary school, 4th grade to be exact, but yeah, it's right now, even though it doesn't look like winter back here, it actually is winter break. So right now is school time, but I'm not at school. And anyway, so think about it. So, okay. What kind of classes would you do? Because I mostly just stay with my homeroom teacher, but I do go to other classes too on Wednesday. So I go to science, and then there's library, and then there's also art, technology, PE, there's science, history, and there's one more thing, but I just totally forgot that one, so very sorry about that. And anyway, yes, oh yeah, music, there was music. I don't know how I forgot that, but anyway, from those, then what would you choose as your subject? And if you had to choose one more subject to go into school, then what would it be? I think I would do surfing and swimming. I want to learn swimming. I can float and I can swim well, but better swimming, really good swimming, so I can go into the deep and scuba dive. And also I like snorkeling, and I'm learning more snorkeling, even though I've already gone to 10-foot deep pools of real water, in the sea. I've gone to 10-foot places, but still better than that. Okay, now I also wanted to ask you about parent conferences here, okay? Do you like parent conferences, or are you just really nervous about parent conferences because you might get a bad grade or something? Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask you about what I wanted to ask you about was vocabulary bingo, right? And donuts and everything, okay? So what I wanted to ask you about vocabulary bingo was, do you think it's a little unfair that because Melody, even though she knew everything, she just didn't really get all the chocolate donuts? I've had that. I knew the answers, but it's just that, at times, I was just about to say when another kid said it, But still, I mostly get the chocolate donuts, even though my school doesn't even give chocolate donuts. Sad. Okay, but anyway, so what do you think the mobility assistant, right? And it's Catherine. So I sort of just went around, and so what about Catherine? How would you describe Catherine? 5 traits. I would have her as nice, friendly, kind. I know those are basically the same things, but And also I would also do encouraging, and then the last one, I think that yeah, about, and also I wanted to say let's see, I'm gonna think about more about that, okay, because I can't pause the video because I'm the one who's getting recorded, right? And do you think that this mobility, do you think that Catherine will help Melody, or do you think that in the end there will be problems with Catherine? Okay, now so now Melody's reading Shiloh, Tuck Everlasting, and The Giver. Oh, I've read Shiloh 2 times, Tuck Everlasting once, and The Giver. My parents actually ordered The Giver on Amazon, so it should be coming like today, because the order is still not coming. So I'm about 70% sure that when I go to the mailbox right now, there will be The Giver in there. So yeah. So I am going to read The Giver. So okay, and so do you think that Melody is cheating or not? And also I also wanted to talk about autobiography. Do you think that if you wrote your autobiography, do you think that it would be boring or not? Mine would be pretty exciting. Early life is pretty exciting. I'm not gonna tell you everything. And then 1st grade was pretty traumatizing. And in 2nd grade, I had a Korean teacher. 3rd grade, because it's coronavirus, I went online. And then 4th grade, right now, it's okay. I changed school districts. My autobiography would be like 100 pages long. If I wanted to, I could do 6,000 pages long, but I know that's a little too long. Okay. And okay, so I also wanted to ask you, do you think that this project is going to be hard or not? And now I also wanted to ask you about Mr. Dimming. Do you think that Mr. Dimming is a pretty good teacher or not? And do you like history, or do you think that history is a little or do you think history is a little boring? I love history, and there's actually a history thing on my computer, and right now I'm in like the Elizabethan era. I'm learning about the Elizabethan era. Yeah. And do you think that Mr. Dimming is like dim like dimming or something? Or do you think that's mean because Mr. D is very a genius? And I also wanted to ask you about the 75, right? So the thing is, Melody, Rose thought that Melody had gotten a 75, even though she had gotten 85, right? So do you think it's a little unfair about this, because Melody got a good grade, but it's just that people misunderstood her? Okay. Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you about the Lion King. Do you like the Lion King or not? I actually do like the Lion King. I loved it, but if I had to watch it over and over and over and over and over and over, boring. But yeah, the new Lion King, with the real animals came out. I'm really excited about that one. I'm planning to watch it someday. I don't know, maybe I could watch it at winter break. I'm gonna see if my library has that one. Okay, now chapter 13, right? So, like, Penny is just scooting out of the house, right? And she's trying to get out of the house, right? Do you think that Penny's a little too, too much of a rascal? And also, I also wanted to ask you about, do you think that Penny is a little annoying or not? Okay, now also Mrs. V also won a contest, right? Were you surprised about that, or were you like, contest? Big deal. I was pretty surprised, right? And the thing is, anyway, so now a trip for 6 to downtown aquarium, right? Were you like, were you really surprised about this? And in your head immediately, who did you list that, like, which people did you think that Melody, that Mrs. V should bring? So there's of course Mrs. V, and then Melody, and then there's also Penny, so that's 3, and then Melody's parents, so that's 5, and then I think that maybe a friend, like Rose. You know, Rose could be a very good one. And it's not actually because I read the book, okay? It's just that I just thought of Rose, you know? So, pretty big coincidence. And then, okay, so, I also wanted to ask you about when they were going to the aquarium, right? How do you think that Melody felt when they were going to the aquarium? I think that, and I wanted to use a metaphor and a simile. So, if I had been Melody, I'd be like, I felt like a bird soaring over a sunset. And also, what is your favorite kind of fish or aquatic animal? I think the jellyfish are pretty cool, but jellyfish are right now taking over the oceans. Like, huge herds of them are destroying everything, so I don't really like jellyfish. And then, but I do like lionfish. I thought they were pretty cool. And also octopuses, really colorful fish. And then sharks. And then a million other kinds of fish. I can't really choose, you know. And then, you know, also, suddenly Mrs. V just walks up to Claire, right? And Mrs. V is very defensive. Do you think that Mrs. V why do you think that Mrs. V is such a good person at this? And would you have done the same if you had been Mrs. V? And how do you like Mrs. V for doing what she did? Are you now a little scared of Mrs. V? Or do you think that Mrs. V is the best character ever? She's the best character ever, in my opinion. And do you think that Mrs. V taught Claire a lesson and that Claire won't bother with Melody again? Or do you think that Claire is going to have revenge at Melody? Ooh, it's gonna be pretty scary, right? So I'm pretty excited on what's gonna happen. Okay, so, anyway, chapter 14. What I wanted to ask you about was the Rose is showing off like a brand new laptop, right? Are you really interested in laptops and technology and a new fad, or are you more interested in other stuff? I am more interested in like other stuff because even though I like technology, mostly I like nature, so I'm really interested in nature. And so, do you think that there is a perfect Melody-made computer or not? And also, I wanted to ask you about about Stephen Hawking, right? Do you think that Stephen Hawking, do you think that Melody could actually get a computer like Stephen Hawking? And do you think that's gonna happen in the book or not? Okay, and so I wanted to ask you when they before we talk about more about that, so now there is the first snowfall of the season. What do you think that the first snowfall of the season represents? And do you like snowfall, or do you like, oh no, it's gonna be cold for days and days now, for months. What a terrible day because there's snow. I personally like snow. I love snow. I adore snow. Okay, so I also wanted to ask you about Sydney, about the Sydney the snowman, right? Instead of Sydney the snowman though, they do something else, right? And Sydney is, stuffed back in. How did you feel about this? Because now Sydney's away. And do you think that Mrs. Shannon is going to be the best teacher ever because of this? And if you had been Mrs. Shannon, or the teacher who taught at age 5, then would you have put away the Sydney or not? And also, I wanted to ask you about the Medi-Talker. Did you actually think that they were gonna get the Medi-Talker, or do you think that's still pretty much impossible? And so, I wanted to ask you about how do you think that Melody felt when she knew that this Medi-Talker could actually change her life, and that she had to wait? And have you ever had that kind of feeling? Oh yes, I have. When I go to camping, first of all, like I said before, I love nature. I love everything about nature. I want to live in nature when I grow up. I love hiking, and I also love camping. Nature, awesome, right? And whenever we go to camping, like in the morning, it's like a big rush. We always like pack up stuff, and I'm like, Dad, Mom, hurry! And so I'm like that. So I'm pretty impatient, but Melody will be 10 times more impatient. And so, do you think when Melody's mom said, yeah, this is long overdue, let's do it, maybe we'll do it, then how did you think about this? And did you think that this actually was going to work out, and they were going to get everything? And I also wanted to ask you what I wanted to ask you about was, when the Medi-Talker came out, right? The Medi-Talker arrives. But do you like paperwork and all that? Do you think that it's actually needed, or do you think it's just boring? I think it's boring. So I think that basically what I have to do is like just sign all the papers, okay? Just one paper for signing, okay? Just sign all the papers, say why you want it or whatever. That's it. Why do they need so much information? Annoying. And also, were you happy when the Medi-Talker said, "Welcome to the Medi-Talker"? And so, what did you think when they began to talk? The computer says, "Thanks, Mrs. V," and "wow," and all that, right? How did you feel? How do you think the Melody felt about this? How did you feel about this? And did you actually need like a tissue or something when they did this? I didn't need a tissue, but I almost needed a tissue. That's it. Right? And how do you think that, do you think that, like in Chinese and French, right? This is awesome because now Melody can talk in Chinese and French. But also, when Mom and Dad come, right? She says, "I love you." And even though that's like normal phrase, she actually never said that to her parents because she didn't really have the ability to. And if you have been Melody's parents, first of all, how would you have felt that your daughter could actually speak? And how do you think the Melody felt about this? Okay, now I also wanted to ask you about what I also wanted to ask you was when all of like everybody was looking at the computer at Elvira, right? Melody's finally the center of attention, right? And also, what I wanted to talk about this was, do you think that the Elvira, do you think that this will help do you think this will help Melody's life? And I wanted to talk about both lives, like school life and just home life. How do you think they will help Melody? And I want you to do 2 for each one, okay? And And so I also wanted to ask you, do you think that this Meditalker will win Melody more popularity points, or not necessarily that, but still it's going to be pretty good? And anyway, so we're left off on an amazing happy note. And next time we're gonna read more, and I hope that, yeah, we're gonna read more, and I hope that you enjoyed today with me, because I really enjoyed it. And Out of My Mind is one of my all-time favorite books, so I hope that you're enjoying it. A few last questions. What was your favorite character and your least favorite character? Because we all know that our opinions change, and there's also a new character, right? There is Mrs. Shannon, Penny, and Catherine. So yeah, and also yeah, and then also I also wanted to ask you, what was your favorite part in these chapters and in the whole book so far? And also, how do you like the book so far? Always fun to check up on that, right? Because at first, I actually hated Out of My Mind. I know, it sounds absurd. But now, I love it. It's like my top 10 list. So I know, it's really interesting how that happened. And also, yeah, what do you predict is going to happen next to Melody? Like, with the Meditalker and Rose and Molly and Claire, the bullies, right? Well, all of that, what do you think is going to happen? And what other interesting things do you, like, even if you don't really know, like, what interesting things would you like to happen to Melody? Okay, I think that one would be like she going on to like a TV or something. That would be pretty cool. But anyway, so I can't really talk, and I can't really talk about it because, you know, I've read the whole book so far. But it's still I can still, in a way, I can still predict. I know, it's a little strange, but I still can. But anyway, guys, so I hope that you had an amazing time with me. And keep reading, okay? And that's sort of like my motto. I know, not a very good motto, but that's my motto. Keep reading, because reading's awesome. Yeah, my motto actually is gonna be keep reading, because reading is awesome. That's gonna be my motto. Not that bad of a motto, okay? And so guys, I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night, because I always want to be fair tonight, you know, because people always leave out night. So to people everywhere, I hope that you had a great time with me again. And so yeah, keep on reading, guys, because it's awesome. Bye.